And we're live. You're listening to Let's Talk, the SQPN community podcast. Let me adjust my camera. And I'm Dom Bettinelli. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Hermiz. Hello, Andrew.
Good morning, Dom. How's it going?
Very well, thanks. Now that we're live, I've had a few technical issues. I'm trying to edit some stuff, which actually we'll talk about in a minute. And Adobe Audition decided to lock up my computer and say, no, you don't want to do the live show. And I said, yes, I sincerely do. So just to remind folks of what we're doing here, this is a short form podcast we're doing for the next few minutes. We're live streaming every day, every weekday. I'm sorry, I'm taking the weekends off and sleeping in. But we're here gathering around the virtual water cooler, the virtual coffee pot, and we're having some fun and having some chat, and we hope that you will join us as you can. Most of all, we just want to stay connected to you, our friends, our community, and have some fun. So, and you can catch it each weekday live on Facebook at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific, and we'll put it in the Let's Talk podcast feed as an audio and on the SQPN YouTube channel as a video. So, Andrew, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Yeah.
Good.
It's what I think it's like week 3 of the quarantine.
Yes.
the lockdown. I stopped counting the days. We have a little thing on the fridge, a little dry erase thing, and I was marking down the days, and I think I stopped. But just gotten used to it, I guess. So far just a way of life now.
I think for me it's exactly 3 weeks today that we've. Although for us, like I've said this multiple times, for us, this is what we do. I work from home. Right. The kids are homeschooled. So, but I posted as a joke yesterday, last night actually, as I was going to bed. Week 3 lockdown. Melanie thinks I'm building a garden bed. I'm building a trebuchet, and the kids and I are planning to invade the neighbors. I need breathing room.
Yeah. Well, that just sounds like fun, regardless.
Yeah. Well, actually, one of Melanie's friends they built a trebuchet in their backyard for fun. I'm like, wow,
oh, wow.
What a great! They have a bigger backyard than I do. If I started shooting things around in my backyard, I'd be hitting stuff.
I was about to say, what were their intentions of building that? Maybe I hope you're okay.
Yes, it's siege weapons. We're all about education here. My kids and I used to get into sword fights in the backyard. We have practice swords, like plastic ones, and we'd have running sword battles around our backyard. That was always a lot of fun. They're getting a little older now, so it's not as much fun for me. So, because they usually beat me, but
right, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what we've got going on this week here at SQPN. You and I and Mike Denz and Mike Creevy, I think it was last week or the week before, we recorded an episode of Secrets of Movies and TV Shows on the Passion of the Christ. And so that'll be released tomorrow. And that's what I was editing before this show and was delayed us because Adobe Audition was giving me hassles. But
naturally.
What a great discussion that was, I think.
Really was.
And about a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's timely during the season of Lent to revisit this film that I know a lot of Catholics and non-Catholics go to every year. It's kind of turned into a tradition for a lot of people to watch the film.
Yeah.
It still holds up, all these years later as I guess the gold standard of the telling of that story in the gospel. And people should check out the episode. I think we had a really great discussion with a lot of cool perspectives on the film, and we kind of really dove deep into it. And I think people will get a certain appreciation of the film maybe that they hadn't, if they check it out.
I hope so, especially given that this year there won't be Stations of the Cross like people normally have at their parishes and stuff. Watching the movie is probably a nice way to experience a little bit of that. If you're, I know some people have a hard time with the amount of violence, and we talk about the violence in the movie. But if that's not an issue for you, that might be worthwhile. And watch the movie and then before or after listen to the podcast, I think could deepen some appreciation. I think obviously we take a spiritual viewpoint as well as appreciating the artistry of it. So it was a good discussion. Yeah.
Yes.
Something else we that has come out this week is a new episode of Secrets of Star Wars. So,
Mhm.
what are you guys talking about on Secrets of Star Wars these days?
So on these days we're covering the newest season of the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who's a fan of Star Wars or a fan of the show knows that Clone Wars has come back from its, I think, 5-year hiatus.
Yeah.
With the latest and the last season of Clone Wars. So every other week we're reviewing the last two episodes, and
Okay.
we just finished reviewing episodes 5 and 6. And right before that we went through the whole season of The Mandalorian,
Okay.
which was a lot of fun. So yeah, if anyone who's a Star Wars fan or thinking about jumping in and wanting to watch one of these shows, I really suggest tuning into the podcast. Not only because I'm on it, or we're this is obviously a plug, but I think it's really something that again, with people having maybe a little more time at home, being consuming more content,
Mm-hmm.
why not consume some supplemental content, to
Yeah.
maybe help you again get another perspective and maybe find out something cool that you didn't really know about.
Yeah, what's great is we restarted the podcast just as The Mandalorian's first season came out. And so you guys had a lot of great discussion. Then The Rise of Skywalker, some more great discussion. And then before this Clone Wars Season 7, you guys were going through some of interesting, like thematically, through some of the Clone Wars episodes that really had some interesting moral, theological, philosophical stuff to discuss. I thought it was more depth in Clone Wars than I think some people would guess from an animated series.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about the Clone Wars and a lot of animated shows these days. But with that show specifically, it's obviously aimed towards kids and that audience, and obviously now Star Wars being under the Disney umbrella even more so. But yeah, it's definitely chock full of deep, it goes over ethical issues and moral and theological and philosophical themes that it might go over a kid's head, but adults can enjoy it and kind of think about it.
I've often said that if I kind of wish that they'd made the prequels as part of like the Clone Wars, that the Clone Wars makes the prequels better because
Absolutely.
because they take place basically between the second and third prequel, and wow, now Anakin makes sense, and
Yes.
you see his journey, and it's not this whiny and all that other stuff.
Yes.
I'm like, wow, yeah, it changes everything. So if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, folks, definitely I would check it out. Yeah, excellent. So today is April 1st. And I know some people out there have said, "Oh, this year April Fool's is not in good taste." But I think certain April Fool's jokes are not in good taste this year, or ever sometimes. But I think we all need a little laugh. It's a good prank, a good joke can be fun. Have you heard of any good April Fool's pranks that are out there today?
I mean, like you were just saying, leading up to this year's April Fool's, all I've been hearing about is like, be careful, don't do any jokes about like what's going on, and it's not in good taste. And I agree with that for the most part. But yeah, I would say since everyone is stuck at home, like what better opportunity to pull pranks on your family. Everyone is kind of stuck inside together, so it's let the best man or woman win. You could do anything from rubbing Vaseline on the door handles to putting saran wrap over the toilet, like the classic stuff. So
oh yes, yes, the classics.
yeah. So I would say just it's definitely something that you can it's another thing that people can do during this kind of weird and tragic time that we're in, is to have some fun and get our mind off of maybe what's on the news. Just take advantage of the day and have fun with it.
have a good sense of humor. One good one I saw was some parents pranking their kids, telling them that they announced the school's back in session and getting them up and dressed to the door. And when they get to the door, it's say April Fools. So I thought that was a good
That's
one.
brilliant. Anything where parents are pranking their younger kids always gets me going. It's like the popular like Jimmy Kimmel thing, telling kids that we ate all your candy every during Halloween. Those never get old.
I'm a little dubious on that one because, like, you don't want to make him cry, if you
I think I'm a little more
bit.
twisted than you are. I don't mind if they cry a little bit.
Well, one of my favorites, one of the classics, is putting the rubber band over the hose on the kitchen sink, the sprayer hose,
yes.
So that when someone turns on the faucet, it sprays their shirt. That's one of my favorites. But I've done that often enough that I don't think anybody's buying that anymore. They're all probably in there looking at the thing before they turn the faucet on today.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you can get your family to be nervous around April Fool's Day, then I think you've done your job well.
The best April Fool's joke is making them nervous all day long, waiting for the joke. That's the best one.
Absolutely.
That's expert level April Fool's pranking.
I agree.
So today I got to do my T-shirt of the day. Some folks on the live stream could probably see it, but I'll stand up a little bit so that you can get a better view. This is one of my favorites. It's Darth Vader at the bat. So it's a picture of Darth Vader standing at a baseball home plate with his lightsaber up, ready to send the ball into orbit or something. Which actually there's a animated GIF out there. Sorry, folks, I say GIF. That's just sorry. I know that we're divided into people who say GIF and people who say GIF. I say GIF, but there's an animated GIF out there I've seen where it's Darth Vader at the bat and he hits the ball and it goes into orbit and hits the Death Star and explodes and you see his reaction. He just like drops his lightsaber like does the mic drop. It's very funny, but yeah, this is one of my favorites. Although I don't really like white shirts, so it's the image on a white shirt. I'm a guy who has a trouble drinking his coffee without spilling it on his shirt, so white shirts are a bad idea in general. So that's why you'll always see my T-shirts generally are darker. But this one I got as a present in white. All right. So do you have a recommendation for folks today, Andrew?
Yes, I do. I am recommending a comic book or a graphic novel called The Vision. I have it right here for people to see.
Yeah, a little closer to the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is the Marvel Vision?
Yes. So it's it's a story based off of the Marvel character, The Vision. So anyone that's even if you're not a comic book reader, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the character from the Avengers films. Mm-hmm. And they're doing an upcoming show on Disney Plus based on the same character as well, which is going to be heavily influenced by this comic book. I wanted to suggest the comic book because I know, on this podcast, mostly we've been suggesting movies, TV shows, books, some game, tabletop games and stuff like that. But I want to suggest a graphic novel, especially to people who really aren't into comic books, to maybe give it a shot, because in general I think graphic novels, maybe a lot of people have this misconception about comic books, where is this for a younger audience, or it's really not really deep material or anything like that. A story like this I think it's a good representation of how comic books can kind of be elevated and sort of transcend the genre, because this particular story of the Vision, if you know the character from the movies, that's all the backstory you really need to know. I mean, the character goes back, I think I think it was created in the 70s by Jack Kirby. Yeah. And, but, some people also might be intimidated by diving into a comic book, that's about like a character that's been around that long. But the cool thing about stories like these is like that you can just jump in blind, and there's enough backstory there for you to catch up. But really, The Vision, it's written by Tom King, who's one of my favorite writers currently. He's just getting done doing his Batman run for DC.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's really it's an American tragedy, is what it is.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's if briefly, I mean, the Vision is a android. He's a synthezoid, as he describes it in the story, who is a part of the Avengers. So he's fighting, bad guys. He's fighting enemies,
Hmm.
across the planet, as his day job. But he's created this android family, and moved to the suburbs to try and live a normal life.
Oh
And then
wow. Yeah.
naturally, a bunch of robotic beings trying to live in suburbia. What could go wrong? I mean,
Right.
everything will go wrong, especially
Yeah.
someone who's an Avenger who has, enemies and uh, I mean, I won't spoil it, but obviously, a whole bunch of trouble comes their way, and he's fighting to be normal, and it's a story that everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
It's not it's a common trope in any type of storytelling, but I mean, obviously with movies and TV shows having a visual element in storytelling is very powerful. So the same thing with comic books and graphic novels,
Cool.
having that visual there is just another element. The art is just is amazing.
Awesome.
It's the art is done by Gabriel Walta. So I highly recommend it. And comic books in general, it's there's stuff for all ages.
Hmm.
There's stuff for adults that are just for adults. I wouldn't recommend this comic book for younger audiences. I would say maybe teenagers can handle it. But
Yeah.
there are comic books you could find that are aimed towards kids. There are great Star Wars ones. The Darth Vader ones are great.
Mm. Yeah.
Dear Justice League is a good one that I'm already reading to my 1.5-year-old daughter. So yeah, give them a try. Yeah, I
Cool.
think comic books could be a cool thing if you want to shut off the screens. I think it's a cool
That's a
thing to
good
get
idea.
into.
Yeah. Awesome. Good pick. Good idea. Well, folks, as we wrap up, we do want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create Let's Talk, and their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Let's Talk in all the shows we do at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So that's it from us. We'd love to hear from you. You can contact us at sqpn.com or the SQPN Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or you can send an email to let's talk at sqpn.com. And of course, I'll put links to that graphic novel in the show notes at sqpn.com/let's talk. Until next time, Andrew Hermiz, thank you for joining me on Let's Talk.
Thank you, Dom. Enjoy April Fools.
I will. And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk on StarQuest.